Shandy frowned angrily. Damn it. I can't see why Blackbeard even came here in the first place. I guess he knew somehow that there was some big magic deep in this jungle. But what made him go to so much trouble to get at it? Especially since he doesn't even seem to be handy enough at magic to keep himself out of trouble. Davy started to speak, and then chuckled and shook his head. You've been in the Western world how long now, Jack? You know how long. So I do. A month, call it. Well, I first saw these islands when I was 16, the year after the press gang grabbed me in the Bristol street and informed me I was a new sailor in His Majesty's Navy. No, let me talk. You can talk after. Anyway, I was a sailor on the frigid Swan, and in May of 1692, I was 18 by then, the Swan was in Port Royal, which was Jamaica's main seaport in those days. And we had her up on the careening ground as 100 yards west of the walls of Fort Carlisle. Davy sighed. I guess 10 years earlier, Port Royal had been a real hellhole. It was Henry Morgan's home base, but when I was there, it was just a nice, lively town. Well, on the second day of June, while my mates were working in the sun scraping barnacles off the Swan's hull, I was down the beach a ways reporting a shipping error at the King's warehouses. And when I had finished, I ducked in next door at Littleson's Tavern. And I'll tell you what, Jack, just as I left that place full of beer and Littleson's excellent stew, beef and turtle it was, I recall, Feng Street jumped under my feet, and a sound like cannons of thunder came rolling over the mainland. I turned back to the tavern just in time to see the whole front wall of the place being split into quarters like you cut a pie, and the brick street broke up into strips and slid right down into the sea, with the whole town following right behind. Shandy was listening avidly, having for a moment forgot their original topic. I think I was underwater for 3 minutes, Davy went on, being battered by bricks and dirt and just about being disjointed by the water itself, which couldn't make up its mind which way it wanted to fall. Finally, I got to the surface and grabbed a hold of somebody's roof beam, which was bobbing around like a toothpick on the choppiest, craziest sea you've ever heard of. Eventually, I was picked up by the Swan herself. It was one of the few vessels that hadn't been wrecked, maybe because she was already tipped over when the earthquake struck. She was crisscrossing a new patch of ocean, which had, until about noon, had just been Port Royal. And we'd pulled lots of others out of that white sea. It was all bubbling and seething, like a huge pot of wild beer, but I heard that 2,000 died there. Jesus, said Shandy respectfully. Then, but how does this all relate to... right, sorry, I'm getting carried away by my memories. Well, so 3 blocks inland on Broad Street on that same terrible June 2nd, an old magician from England, sort of like Herwood, I guess, was trying out a heavy piece of resurrection magic. I don't think he was very skilled at it, but he had with him that same day a 16-year-old boy had grown up among the free blacks in Jamaica, a boy who, though white, had been deeply educated in voodoo and had, the year before, been consecrated to the most fierce among the Laos, the lord of the cemeteries, Baron Semedi, whose secret drove as low, smoldering fire. It was reincarnation magic they were playing with, trying to learn how to put old souls into new bodies, and that requires fresh human blood. And they'd grabbed some poor devil to provide it. The old English magician had tried this stuff before, and I don't know, maybe he'd managed on his best day to bring a dead bug or 2 back to life. But today he had this 16-year-old boy yoked in double harness with himself, right? Right, echoed Shandy. Well, it turns out neither of them knew it at the time, though probably a few of the old Bokors knew it, and certainly the Caribbean Indians before that. It turns out that the big yield resurrection magic has to be done at sea. Something to do with the relationship between blood and seawater, I understand. Well, this white boy turned out to be the most powerful natural magician of his color that anybody has ever heard of, and he was doing resurrection magic in Port Royal on the land. Shandy waited a moment. Yeah, so on the land. So the town of Port Royal jumped into the sea, Jack. Oh, Shandy looked out at the black ocean. The 16-year-old boy was named Ed Thatch, and he's been trying to perfect this resurrection magic ever since. And that's what's brought him here to this coast 2 years ago. You asked, remembered? Yes. Shandy wasn't feeling at all very reassured. Very well. So what is the focus or fountain we're going to the jungle to find? Davies blinked at him. I thought you knew that, Jack. It's a hole in the wall between life and death, and anyone standing around is liable to catch a spray from one side or the other. Don't you know any history? It's what Ponce de Leon was looking for. He called it the Fountain of Youth. And if you're a fan of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, you know that the third movie ended with talk about the Fountain of Youth, which is why they chose this book to base the next movie off of, since it ties in with the Fountain of Youth. So I hope you all enjoyed that. We don't have much time for discussion, but if you have some quick questions about Pirates of the Caribbean or my costume, I'd be happy to answer them now.
What part will Johnny Depp play in this?
You know, I heard rumors that he might actually be Jack Shandy, who was the cook character that kept getting promoted, but I'm not really sure. That's what's puzzling me, because I can't really see the whole, character being the cook. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, or a puppeteer. But yeah. Fine.
Do they have women on the ship?
This particular, in this tale, there was one main female character. For the movie, they're going to have a few female characters. But there were a few real female pirates in real life. And you know me, Vaughn, I'm a female pirate too.
I just didn't know if they were on the ships.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, there were. And actually, Calico Jack, I don't know if he was a player of his time or what, but he sailed around with two women who were pretty notorious in their own names. So there were female pirates. And pirates of all ethnicities at the time too, which I thought was surprising. So it's a lot to the world of pirates. So, yeah.
Did you use a blend of English and French accent?
Did I?
Yeah.
When I was reading?
Yeah.
Oh, I tried a little piratey accents, but they were probably terrible. And I don't have a very good French accent either, but I tried them. It might have even been Irish sounding, but I don't know specifically which one I used, but I knew I threw something in there. But Jeanette.
Jasmine, tell us a little bit about your costume and what you do when you go out.
It took me about 2 months to make this. I made this myself, except for the physical part of the bodice. When I bought the bodice, it was a wedding bodice, and it was white. And when I got hold of it, I tore it apart and dyed it just to get it more to look like the costume did in the movie. The coat I constructed out of upholstery fabric. And I made this whole costume. It looked all nice and clean. And then when I was done sewing it, I drug it through the mud. I tore it. I dyed it with tea bags just to make it look aged and more pirate-like. So my friends and I, as a hobby, we actually like to watch movies or read comic books or play video games. And if we see an interesting costume that we like, we recreate it, and that's what we do for fun. And it allows us to do charity type events like this, or go out and mingle at Renaissance festivals, or go to various conventions around the country, and not only interact with people who do the same thing, but just meet fans of various media who are like, oh, you're that girl, kind of thing. It allows people to meet their favorite characters without us making millions. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, well, thank you all very much. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
So your hair, what's the thing again?
Right here? This is just a piece of twine that I sewn to give the wig a bit more character. And in the movie, she has all kinds of crazy things in her hair, like feathers and stuff like that. So I tried to replicate it as much as I could. So.
Tell me what you do for your day job.
My day job, my alter ego, I'm an accountant. I calculate all day. So I tell a lot of people, that I'm an accountant. And when I'm like this and I tell people what I do, they're like, you do what? But I guess this is my outlet, from being in the cubicle 40 hours a week.
And I would just add, she's an excellent.
Thank you. Thank you. I try very hard. So. All right, well, thank you all very much. Thank you.